Welcome to this week's question time. I know I'm in a slightly different location, but there are people walking around the hall and I'm trying to be stealthy, so I've hidden away in my office to record this afternoon. This week I've got two questions and a little bit of an introduction to some more complicated ideas behind the book of Revelation. So let's start with question one. Question 1 is about Jesus' promise in Revelation chapter 3 verse 10 to rescue the members of the church in Philadelphia from the hour of trial. The question assumes that this is a reference to the rapture and wants to know whether I think that's right or whether I think that's what it's about. Now, I think the first thing to say on this is to look at the context. The letter is to a real place at a real time with a real promise of rescue for a coming trial. Now, given that the letter was written in probably the very latest AD 95, then it's safe to assume that whatever this rescue was that Jesus was promising, and however it was to occur, has already happened. And if that's right, which I think is the most obvious way of reading it, then the reference cannot be to some kind of end-time rapture, because that just doesn't make sense. I don't think that really answers the question, because the question behind the question is whether or not I think the Bible teaches that Christians will be taken at some point from the earth in a rapture prior to a 1,000-year reign of Christ and an end-time tribulation. The answer to that question, do I think that's what the Bible teaches, is no, I don't. And there are lots of reasons why I don't believe that. But probably the main reason is that it seems to my mind to misunderstand how the book of Revelation works as a book. And then it reads back through the whole New Testament a very strange and historically quite novel understanding of Revelation 20 verses 1 to 10. Now, I could say more on that, but needless to say that this quite small question relates to much bigger ideas about how we should read the book of Revelation. Particularly whether the book of Revelation is written about events which are all now past, or events which are happening now, or events which are at some kind of future date, or just even general ideas with no specific date to them. Now, each of those positions has a fancy name, but I think the most helpful approach to the book of Revelation is to assume that it's doing all of those things at various times and in various ways. So it's clearly written to churches, telling them of things to happen, which have now already happened, but also of general principles and events recurring in all of history, and things which will happen when the Lord Jesus returns. And the easiest way, to my mind at least, to make a mess of understanding the book is to push it all very strongly into one of those categories, which I think the rapture reading does, amongst other things. Now, like I said, I could say more. I don't want to do that now, and I might in a future video, if you would like me to, address some of those issues in more depth. One final comment, the questioner also asks whether our church has a position on this. And the answer to that is to say, take a look at our statement of faith, which says what we believe to be really clear about the personal return of the Lord Jesus without demanding that we all hold exactly the same view on the specifics of how that will happen. Phew. Question 2. Question 2. Jesus says to the church in Philadelphia twice to keep his word. Do you see that as referring to the speaking of the word to others or something else? Now, I think that's a brilliant question because it hints at what I think is the heart of Jesus' point in these 7 letters about perseverance. You'll notice not only in this letter, but also in lots of them, this call to keep the word, to hold fast to the end, to conquer. But also, as we've seen, it's also a call not to lose the love for the lost, not to compromise, to speak through open doors. And this is the point which the question hits on, which is that perseverance includes proclamation. In other words, perseverance isn't perseverance unless it's spoken. You know, I'm not keeping going as a Christian unless I'm speaking out as a Christian. I'm not holding on to the gospel unless I'm holding out the gospel to others. So that's a great question. Perseverance includes proclamation, always does. That's all the questions for now. The next 7 videos is nearly finished and will be up at some point tomorrow. I hope to see you in a Zoom meeting on Sunday morning. Thanks for watching, and if you've got more questions this week, send them to me and I'll answer them in a future question video.